I'm Jonathan, and this is the Worship Breakdown. And today, in our song breakdown, we're going to be looking at the song Sing to the King by Billy J Foote. It was written back in 2003. It was part of that whole Passion movement. It's a really wonderful song and really great to play on the guitar. If you listen to the official recording, which I'll put a link in the description box of that, but if you listen to the original recording, it doesn't seem like much of a guitar song, but it's in the key of E, so that gives us a lot of fun things that we can do with this song. But before we get into it, I want to give you a quick understanding, a quick explanation of where I've been over these last couple of months. I've gotten a number of new subscribers. That's awesome. I've gotten a lot of views on Save My Soul, which is great. So if you came over here from that video, thank you. If you subscribed because of that video, that's awesome. Thank you. I'd ask that you consider sharing this channel with some more friends. But because of that, I was like, hey, I probably need to make some more content. But over these last couple of months, what I have been doing is producing a podcasting network called the Borderline Heretic Studios. It's a podcasting network where me and a couple friends talk about all things taboo and just generally misunderstood about Christianity. Currently, we're going through a series on the 7 deadly sins, and we're about halfway through that. So if you want to jump in on that series, if you want to know more about what we're doing over there, there will be some links in the description box below, and I'd love it if you go check that out. That'd be amazing. We also have a YouTube channel where I take little clips, the little nuggets of wisdom that we stumble across, and I put some B-roll footage behind it, and I put them into little bite-sized videos for easier consumption, if you will. So all that will be in the description box below. I'd really appreciate it if you go check that out. But to the song at hand. This song is in the key of E, so that gives us some really fun things that we can do. It's really just fun and lively, and there's only 2 parts to the song. There's a verse structure, and then there's a chorus structure. Now there are 2 verses, obviously, but there's only really 2 parts that you have to understand. It's the verse and the chorus. And there's a strumming pattern that we can use throughout the whole thing that makes it really easy to play. The only thing left to do is understand the chords, which there are some really fun things we can do with that. Before we look at this strumming pattern for the song, I want to give this quick caveat. I learned this song before I ever heard the recording of it. About 10, 15 years ago, when I was first starting out in worship ministry as a bassist, our worship director introduced this song to our team, and he played it for us. At that time, there was no Spotify and YouTube. It existed, but they didn't have all these songs loaded up on there. You couldn't just go onto YouTube and hear how it sounded. So the way I learned it was from being taught by my worship director and seeing him play this song and kind of interpreting it from the other musicians that I was playing with. So some of the things I'm going to teach you aren't going to line up exactly with the recording because they just didn't exist back then. They just weren't as accessible back then, and that's still kind of ingrained in who I am. So even now, when I can hear the song, hear how it's played, it's still a conflict trying to resolve what I know, what I've learned, with what actually is how Billy J Foote wrote it. So what I'm going to teach you is accurate to a point, right? The flow is still the same. The structure of the song is still the same. The chords are exactly the same. The tempo is a little bit quicker, and the strumming pattern is a little fuller than what's in the recording. But all of it still gets the song across. And all of it still feels like the song, just slightly different. So take what I'm going to teach you with a grain of salt. It's not going to line up exactly with the recording. That being said, let's look at this strumming pattern, because this strumming pattern is going to run us through the entire song. We're not really going to have to change it much going from verse to chorus. There are a couple sections where we're going to build a little bit, but otherwise we can use this same strumming pattern for the whole song. So we're going to start out, I'm just going to play an E chord here, okay? So for all this strumming, I'm just going to use an E chord. But the strumming pattern, I'm going to teach you the feel first, and then I'm going to show you what I actually strum. So the feel goes like this. It's in 4/4, but I strum in eighths, or I feel kind of the rhythm in eighth notes. And instead of counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, I count 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. Okay. The reason I do that is because that number 1 kind of cues my brain in to when I need to emphasize it. I'm imagining a kick drum going boom, 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 boom. I'm imagining that's where that kick drum is hitting. And so I'm kind of emphasizing those beats. If I were to do the 1 and, it would sound something like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And even though I can do that, in my brain it doesn't convey the same thing, right? So that's that 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, and when you can lock in on that in your guitar, you're gonna cue in your drummer to that same beat. They're gonna hear how you're emphasizing the guitar, and they're gonna copy the same thing. Your bassist is going to hear that, and he's gonna play. He's going to lock in on that. Your pianist, they're going to lock in on that. Ba-da-da-ba-da-da-ba. Your singers, too, they're going to emphasize those words. Sing to the King who is coming to reign. Glory to Jesus, the Lamb that was slain. So they're going to hear that emphasis, and it's going to bring all your team, your whole team together, lock in on that same driving feel. Okay? So it's important that you get that feel going. Ba, 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 ba. Right? So that's the feel. Now the strumming pattern I do is a little more full. So go back, make sure you watch over that section, play along with me, and then jump over here to this part and get the fuller strumming pattern. You can play that, what we did just a second ago, throughout the whole song. It'll be just fine. But if you want to add a little bit more, here's where it comes in. So we're going to start out with just emphasizing those ones. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some 16th notes, some up, down, and they're going to come before those down beats. So before each one of these beats here, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. Before each one of those, I'm going to add a quick little, and then I'll hit that down beat. All right. So it's going to sound like this. That's a good habit to get into when you're learning a strumming pattern in general. Find those downbeats and then accentuate them. Then add to them. Do a little 16th note chucking there right before you hit that downbeat. It's a great way to build your strumming patterns. And those little 16th notes, I'm not doing the full 6 strings. I'm just staying down here on these high 3 strings. They're actually before the chords. There are a couple of places actually where we do a little bit different. We're building into the next section. There are just some turnarounds in the song, or some little transitions from the verse to the chorus, or from the chorus back to the verse. And instead of that down, up, down, up, down, that little 16th stuff, we're going to stick to just straight 8th notes. And it's just going to be a driving little thing. Sing to the King. And 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It happens down here later in the chorus. And 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it's just these little driving sections where, most of the time it's on an E, whether it's this E here, which we'll talk about here in a second, or it's this E here. And it's just 2 and 3 and 4 and. Alright. Now, if that's a little bit frustrating for you to switch that strumming pattern back and forth, you can keep the little 16th notes. Totally fine. It still fits within the 4/4 time frame, within that rhythm. You're still going to do it. You leave the driving to your drummer or to your bassist, right? And you can just keep chucking along with that strumming pattern. Alright, so now on to the chords. And again, we've got two basic structures. We've got our verse and we've got our chorus. So the verse is really just a 3-chord song. It uses the 1, the 4, and the 5, and that's it. And it uses something a little bit different. So in the key of E, those 3 chords would be E, A, and B. But I'm sure if you've seen the chord chart to it, it'll say E, B over E, A over E. So what does that mean? It's a modified bar chord. It's using something like some droning notes, some pedal tones to be maybe a little bit more music theory correct, pedal tones. And so this is what it is. So I'm not going to go into big detail about bar chords. If you want to know more about bar chords, how they're formed, how to understand bar chords, let me know. Leave a comment, leave a like, let me know, and I'll do a video on that. I'll do like a little series or something like that. But here's the idea. We have an E chord. I'm going to use some different fingers for it, but it's still going to hit the same notes. Here's an E chord. Okay. Now, if I were to slide that up to here, this would be a B. So here's a B note. I have a B chord. This would be a B bar chord. So I take that B note, I bar it down, I play an E shape out in front of it. And then here behind it would be an A chord. Here's an A note, that 5th fret there. I bar that fret and I play this E shape out in front of it. Then I have an A chord. Okay. Alright, so we've zoomed in a little bit more. Let me just review that one more time. So here's my E chord. Normally this is how we would play it. I use some different fingers just so I can show you this. But that's an E chord. So if I wanted to do a bar chord for a B, which would be the next chord, I'm going to slide up to here. This is the 7th fret. That's where that B note is. I would bar down, and then I would play that E shape out in front of it. The only difference in what we're doing here in this song is we're leaving this index finger off. So we have the essence of a B within these 3 strings, and then these 3 strings, your low E, your B, and your high E, I'll get to ring out. Then you're going to slide that whole thing back. Alright, so my A note would be on the 5th fret. So if I were doing a regular bar chord, I'd bar that fret, still have my E shape out here in front. But now I'm just going to leave that off. And it allows these 3 strings to ring out. Okay. Now when I actually play it, my index finger is going to be a whole lot stronger than my pinky. So I'm actually going to use this shape. So I get to use this E shape all the way down. Then I'm going to slide it up. And use your little inlays to help you out. Slide that on up to the 9th fret, because again that B note would be the 7th. All right. So these two fingers are going to be at the 9th, and then your A just slide back 2. So it would normally be here with your index over the 5th. These fingers here. Alright, so that's that 7th fret inlay. And you're back to the E. So the basic structure of this is in a group of 4. So we're going to go E, B, A, E. And that's one pass. E, B, A, E, E, B, A, E. So that's the 3rd. This is the last time. E, B, A, E. And then we're on to the chorus. So it's just those 3 chords. And the intro to the song and the outro, or whatever you want to do there, it's just that chord progression. E, B over E, A over E, then back to E again. So now we're moving on to the chorus. So we're going to do something similar in the chorus. We're going to try and leave these high 2 strings open for the most part. Okay? There's going to be a couple shapes where we can't do the full drone of the low E, B, and high E, but we're going to do as much as we can for each of the shapes. Each of these chords is going to be 2 measures. In the verse, it's just 1 measure per chord, but now we're going to do 2 measures. You can use that same strumming pattern. Okay, we're going to start off with this E chord. Then we're going to go to a minor 2 chord, which is, pushes this song outside of your traditional 4-chord song, 4-chord arrangement. So we're going to go from an E to the minor 2, which is an F sharp, and we're actually going to make it an F sharp minor 7. Okay, so how you do that? You bar that whole fret. There's your F sharp note. Bar that down. Now a normal F sharp minor would use these 2 fingers here. So 2 frets out, that'll be the 4th fret on the A string, and then on the D string. So this would be your normal F sharp minor. But we're going to jazz it up a little bit, and we're going to leave this pinky off. Okay. Or you can swap out, if you like, swap out your ring finger for your pinky. Makes the stretch a little bit easier. Okay. So these 2 fingers are just kind of hovering there, right? Awkwardly just sitting there. Because that's all we need. We need the index back here, pinky out on the 4th fret. So we start with the E. Come, let us sing a song declaring we belong. So on this chord, we're not droning any of the open strings. We're going to leave that. We're going to keep them all down. So every string is accounted for. Then we're going to go to a new type of an A. And it's going to be like an A power chord. Well, not quite an A power chord. It'll be an A major bar chord, but we're going to leave these 2 strings open. So remember that bar chord shape from earlier, right? Normally we would leave that down, right? We're going to keep that middle finger there. But this time we're just going to bring our finger up and just going to let that index finger hit that low E string on that 5th fret. So you get this A chord with a B note and an extra E note. So that would actually be like an A2, right? But it brings back that droning effect from the verse. Let us sing a song declaring we belong to Jesus. He's all that we... Then we're going to do this E power chord. So we're going to do a power chord here so that we can get the low E, and then we can get the B and the high E. He's all that we need. And then then the first time through this progression, we're going to go a measure of E, a measure of D. So we're going to slide the whole shape down, keeping these strings open, keeping that string open. This is one of those parts where you want to do that driving eighth notes. And 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that progression again is, come, let us sing a song declaring we belong to Jesus. He's all that we need. And then we're back again. Okay, starts out, does the same thing, it's just the ending that changes. Lift up a E, F sharp minor 7, now with voices raised to A. Sing to the King. This time, instead of going back to that D chord, we just hang out on this E. Sing to the King. And then we're back to the verse. Alright, so that's really the majority of the song. I want to show you one little trick that you can do with this E chord on the second time through the second verse. So the basic flow, verse 1, then you go to the chorus. Then you do verse 2, and then you go to the chorus. Then you do verse 2 again. Now here's how you make that sound interesting. Here's how you make it actually have some impact the second time around. So you want to start off nice and slow, nice and kind of quiet. For his returning, we watch and we pray. We will be ready the dawn of that day. We'll join in singing with all the redeemed. 'Cause Satan, this is where you're starting to build, right? Because this is a very victorious moment. You know, this is a very impactful moment. Because Satan is vanquished and Jesus is, so you go back to this low E, is King. You do a measure of E right here. It's King. And then we're going to slide all the way down, right? Because we know our 12th fret is where everything repeats. That's like our open string right there. And so we do this E shape all the way up here. That's the 12th, 13th, 14th fret. Get those fingers nice and scrunched up together, and it gets this really cool effect. Alright, that's that. And 2 and 3 and 4 and super fun to try. And again, just doing the same shape. So you just gotta know where your fingers need to land once you slide up there. One other little tip or trick to make your chords sound interesting on this song. And I don't know if this is actually in the song or not. This is just something, again, I learned from my previous worship director. It's this, when you're on that E chord, so, you know, in the verse, you got your E, B, A, and you come back around to the E at the end of that progression. Something I like to do. You got two options here. One is to let that finger just kind of come off. Just kind of playing with that. So that takes it from an E to an E with an A in it, which I think is a suspended 4. Or you could play around with this finger, and you could lift this one off. Which makes that an E2, because that's a D note that you're ringing out. Okay. No, that's sorry, that's E7, not E2. That's E7. That's super fun. The only one you don't want to mess with is this finger, because that changes it from an E major to an E minor, and that's no good. So whenever you're playing this song and you're in the verse and you want to add some accents to that E chord, try playing with these two fingers. It makes it really fun. Alright, so I think that's about everything in this song. There's one little bit at the end that's super fun, so when you're ending on the chorus, this is something to try out, right? So this would be the last time through the chorus, right? You're playing this E chord, sing to the king, and you want to do a really dramatic ending. I'm going to the D chord. Normally we don't go to the D chord right here, but for a really kind of suspenseful ending, sing to the king. It kind of pulls that ending out a little bit more. So I'm just going back to that D chord. I'm doing 2 measures of it with that driving rhythm. But the thing is, I'm slowing it down, right? So you really got to coordinate with your team. You all got to be looking at each other while you do that. So you know, you got to get that timing down. But it's a super fun song. It's a great song for the guitar. I hope you have fun playing it. Hope you have fun trying this out. If you have any questions for me, anything about the song that you want to know more about, or similar songs, if you've got songs that you would like to learn, some more of my crazy renditions that I learned before hearing the recordings. There were a lot of them back in the day that I didn't find out that these were actual songs that somebody had wrote. I thought that they were songs that our worship director had made up or something to that effect. But if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below. Remember, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you next time.